Uh, Snehadhara is a non-for-profit organization in Bangalore that primarily works with children and adults and families of children with physical and mental disabilities. Snehadhara itself is a story. It gets its name from the first child I worked with called Sneha. Uh, and I think a child with special needs, a child whom I saw in a regular learning system in a school. And I think our first lesson of inclusion was when we met Sneha. And Sneha was visibly different to the rest of the children. But I think what Sneha taught all the children and the adults in the space that she belonged was how to embrace diversity. So Snehadhara birthed with that idea. Like every other regular parent, Sneha's parents also wanted her to go to a so-called normal learning system of education system or school, and every school had its reservations way back in 27 when I think 2007 when inclusion was not such a buzzword that it is today. And what we heard from most schools was that we could have her here, but we don't know what she can learn because she's different. I don't think she can learn the system of curriculum that is being doled out to the children here. So I came back home in 2011, end of 2011, 2012, and said, how can we have children being denied admissions in school because they're different? That birthed the organization. Today we're 10 years old. Of course, Neha is no more with us. We lost her about 5 months ago. But we worked with about 2,000 children through direct interventions, 50,000 children across the country with indirect intervention. What tells the story apart is this is a story that has been unheard and unseen because it's about children who I think we never see in public spaces. You do not see children with intellectual disabilities, you do not see children with autism. Now maybe you do, but you do not see many of them in the autism spectrum, children with intellectual disabilities in regular learning systems. So Snehadhara is that story which talks about every child, immaterial of their ability to learn, should be given learning opportunities. It was an attempt to redefine learning. It was an attempt to look at needs of children with special needs to be met through the practices of the arts. And from that births this story. Uhuru is the name of the story, which is freedom to be in Swahili. So when parents would come to me at the end of every end of an academic year, the worry would be what happens to children like these after us? What happens? How would these children, what happens after 18? How would these children manage themselves? So Uhuru as a story, as a innovation, talks about bringing in children and adults in a community living setup, which we right now run in Bangalore, and working with the medium of the arts, looking at how can we empower children to take care of themselves and answer this what after me question when the parents are there there itself. We have a campus where I think the model which works is to say how do we look at direct beneficiary work and impact the lives of children through art-based methodologies? How do we redefine therapy as not treatment but equitable learning spaces? And how do we build a practitioner network model that can take this to as many spaces as possible? And in our journey of 10 years, I think I say that at the end of 10 years, the one thing that stays and resonates with all of us is this whole word of normalcy itself is so overrated. I think what does it mean for us to look at psychosocial well-being of learners? And if there are happy learners, then I think learning happens. The space resonates that in its every sentence. So our curriculum is designed by what the children provide. And art serves itself as that methodology. So 75% of the children that we work with would possibly never be into regular schools. I say children, but our oldest is a 44-year-old. So I think for us, the cue has been children provide. There are resources of learning within a child. What does it mean to develop a curriculum based on that and work back with the children? Short, Uhuru is an invitation. It's a story that says we all have a role to play in this process of change. It's a story that believes that there can be a compassionate society in which children can just be. And just being itself is a lot of learning. Inclusion for us is a verb where I think the practice of inclusion has to happen every day. And Uhuru is that story which I think has met more challenges than now. I would say it's the beginning. I think somebody said it's a developing story. I think the story has just about launched, and I think it took us 10 years to be heard. And now I think every mind that is working with children, every mind that is looking at inclusion, every mind in society has a role to play when it comes to build equitable learning spaces. There hasn't been a public space from which our children or our team have not been sent out of. Be it a railway station where we are asked to say, come with permissions if you're bringing in children like this. Or when we set up the center itself, least did I know in 2012 that we'd have neighbors coming and forcing us to shut down that space. For us, Uhuru has been an experiment, I would say an evolving experiment, a crucible of best practices. And with the journey of 10 years, now we have been able to take best practices, action-based projects that have happened in working with children, looking at how social, cognitive, speech and language goals in children with special needs can be met, achieved, quantified through the medium of the arts. Quite proudly today, this methodology has been adapted into various places in the country and outside. We've had 11 partnering organizations in Nepal who've come and picked up the best practices training and looked at taking it into their spaces within their organization. So, because I think in the heart of it, Snehadhara, which is continuum of compassion and care, believes in the fact that we can do this together. We can build that inclusive and compassionate society. Happy people can be happy learners, and happy learners form a happy, compassionate society. And that's Uhuru, and thank you.